because we're really obsessed with process and step A, B, C, D, E, all the way to get the. And if you could just get to Z and just focus on it being done, it changes your whole life. And that goes for anything. It goes for relationships, finances, abundance, health, and vitality, because then it's irrelevant what action you take as long as you're paying attention to what action you took and what did you get. The action itself doesn't matter. It's what you get after you take the action.
Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about the meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up.
Hello, and welcome to Bombastik Broadcasting with Kat, Kim, and Sue. I'm so sorry, but during this podcast, we had a couple of technical issues. We tried to mitigate them as best as possible, so please keep listening because it's definitely worth it.
Here at Bombastic, the show must go on, you know. So, as you know, here at Bombastic Broadcasting, we believe in illuminating the folks who are stoking the fire in their souls one podcast at a time. And today, the guest that we have is the effervescent and talented Tricia Becker. And her passion is journey into alchemy. So the art of alchemy is teaching the structure of choices, intention, structure, and creative orientation to really spark that joy in life to create what you want. So, I mean, who doesn't want to learn about that? And here she is, straight from Durham, North Carolina. Welcome to Tricia.
Thank you for the warm welcome, everyone. Good to see you.
Great to have you, Tricia. I wanted to share a little quote with you about alchemy that I found this morning. It says, spiritual alchemy deals with inner transformation. Its goal is to attract abundance in life. Realizing one's highest self is the gold in spiritual alchemy. And I wondered if that was your mission, to help people who are on the spiritual journey get their proverbial Olympic gold medal.
Absolutely. Yes. The journey for me, it started with creating this course called The Art of Alchemy. And I realized that was just the first piece. But the journey into alchemy, I realized, is because the joy really is in the journey. It's not the destination, because no matter when we get to a destination, even when we get all the gold, we go, oh, I got all the gold now. What's next? And it really reminded me that as much as I, in most of my life, wanted to get out of the journey because it sucked, once I really started creating intentionally, like Kath was saying, like this intentional creative development, really, really focusing on what I wanted in my life to create, not what I was trying to get away from or fix or problem solve. It became the joy in the journey because it became so much more fun. And the alchemy that I teach, not only as a professional jeweler for many, many years, actually using fire and transforming metal and creating tangible things, but the alchemy that I teach now is more the transformation of the soul. And that lead is a metaphor, but we need the lead, which is the garbage, the junk, the old story, the shadow, or the wound. And we need that to actually create the gold. So the metaphor is twofold, where it's actually the alchemy as a jeweler, as a professional metalsmith that I did for many years and still do. But my joy of learning transformation for myself then turned into this joy of actually sharing it and teaching others how to create that transformation within the soul. So that's what journey into alchemy is now, at least for today.
Lovely.
I love that.
That is neat that you also understand the metalsmithing, because the traditional definition of alchemy is changing forms.
Yes, transmutation in some way, shape, or form, most often from a chemical property to create something else. And I was actually doing that since 1992. That was my profession as a jeweler, in jewelry stores, and had my own business, still have my own business. But that tangible aspect of it, of taking, say, a sheet of metal or a sheet of gold and turning it into a wearable piece of art, it changed the journey of looking at, something that we have within ourselves, a passion or a fire or something that lights us up, and then what do we actually do with it? So that's the journey now. That's the fun.
Speaking of jewelry, what are you wearing around your neck right now, Tricia?
Oh, this is one of my favorites. This is actually not something I made, but I got when I was in Australia. It starts off as a piece of titanium, but then it's treated by a machine that Nikola Tesla actually created himself. And it treats the metal to block and change and transmute EMF waves. and it's concave, so it has a shape to it. And the invisible energy has actually shifted in my electromagnetic field with this piece. So that's one of my favorites. It's called a Tesla plate. Yeah. Pretty fun.
Beautiful. And you've been coaching for a long time now, right? Through COVID?
Yes. So the journey that I'm sharing now really started about 4.5 years ago, when we were all locked down and I wanted to learn more about transformation for myself online. And then I fell into a program with our shared mentor, Chris Duncan in Australia. And because I loved it so much, so energetic and excited about it, that he actually hired me to work for his company. And I worked with him for 3.5 years. So the structure of what I teach now online has been about 4.5 years. But prior to that, I was teaching, I'm a Reiki master teacher, teaching yoga, essential oils, crystals, all of the energetic properties of pranic healing and Tai Chi and Qigong and anything and everything you could do with energy and the work around transforming your energy. And then once I added this last piece in of understanding structure and where we put our focus and energy and emotions, actually was the missing piece. That then now that's what I really frame all that I teach around that work and how to create our focus intentionally as opposed to trying to resolve things from the past where we intentionally are creating now and in the future. It's really powerful.
Your website mentions some books that you've written.
Yes.
What can you tell us more about those?
So
yes.
I have a few books that have already been released. One I was a co-author called Brave Women Stand. And each of the authors share a journey of a turning point in life. And I share the turning point of when I hit postpartum depression. And my chapter is called Just One Thing. And I just took one step and it changed everything when I was really in a deep depression after having my son. And that was actually telling my now ex-husband, but telling him about the challenges because during that period of time, no mother really wants to feel that type of sadness. You want quite the opposite. So that was my first book. And I have a chapter in Brave Women Stand, and that's available, I think, on Lulu, or you can find it on my link tree. And then I really wanted to teach meditation, but I know that is a huge leap for some people to say, oh, no, I don't know how to meditate. I've tried. And I said, well, how did I learn how to meditate? And it's actually very, very short, easy processes that only take a few minutes. And so I created a book called Mindful Minutes, which is an 11-day journey, 1 minute a day to take your life back in 11 days. And that book, Mindful Minutes, 1 minute a day to take your life back, is on Amazon. And it's really simple, applicable tools that you can do daily and easily and simply to change your perspective and create your reality and take your power back. So you feel like you're in control. For me, it was always the chitter chatter monkey mind goes super, super fast. And I needed to take control of that first before I could even allow myself to sit in meditation. But that was many, many years of practices and processes and different teachers. So I created this book that is actually a precursor to a meditation course that I created called The Art of Meditation. So, and in the course, I actually walk people through the book and explain exactly how to apply it each and every day to create those changes. I have it somewhere. Oh, here. So I love the cover. Some people told me the brain looks a little weird. But
so great.
I think it's fun.
It's so great.
All we need is to take some time to change our minds.
No kidding. So Tricia, do you find that a lot of people end up having the same blocks, but just in a slightly different format? I mean, when you're doing one-on-one, and are you still doing one-on-one coaching, by the way?
Yes, absolutely. So the blocks that most people have are rooted in the same information dysfunction patterns that we hear in childhood. And, not coming from a place of judgment. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's information we receive at an early age that we take as truth to define ourselves as children. It's often pre-verbal, and we often don't remember it. We often don't remember those stories we receive, but it could be as simple as, you must finish your plate, or, eat everything off your plate before you have dessert, or you must finish all these horrible chores before you go out and play. And so it creates limitations in what we're allowed to go do. And then that's pervasive through the rest of adulthood. And those could be, people call it the inner child or the shadow or the wound. And in the work that I teach, it's this unconscious period where you're just a sponge receiving information from the outside world. And most often, I've seen probably about 3 of them play out is I'm not allowed, and it's not allowed anything. Doesn't matter whether it's allowed joy, happiness, money, wealth, physical fitness, and and just not allowed to have the thing, no matter what it is. And then one other one that I see often is people don't even know what they love. They've created such a limitation within themselves that they can't even access the truth of what they desire. And that's something that I really see more often than I ever thought I would, because I've never had that. I'm a dreamer. I've got a great amount, and I can see and dream and all these great expectations, but some people don't even allow themselves to access what they love, much less be able to go for it. So they're just in this framework of people pleasing and reaching out to other people. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And there's a lot more, but I don't know how much time we have. I
Oh,
can go
absolutely.
on about that for a long time.
Oh, no, for sure, for sure. One other thing I wanted to ask was, do you find that you have to sometimes coach one person on the same thing several times?
Yeah, it's a reminder. I was actually talking about this morning when I did a short little thing called Coffee Talk, where when we allow ourselves
I love your coffee talk.
Thank you. Yeah. The Facebook group has made it really accessible and fun to be able to share short little free talks with people and creating connection and community without having to have it formally scheduled. And if somebody shows up, it's easy and fun. But what I've seen is that we need reminders as we train ourselves in anything. So we need the reminders, we need the practice, and we need, I call it the law of repetition. So the more we repeat something new, and if you liken it to sports, if you want to be a great tennis player, you must practice tennis. You don't start off at the same level as then when you practice over and over again, even the same exact skill over and over again. And many of my great teachers in metalsmithing specifically actually said, just do it 100 times, do it 1,000 times. And the repetition of anything actually creates a level of connection, improvement, understanding. And the greatest thing for me is when we say, to answer your question specifically, Kim, is that there's this ability to repeat myself. But what I realized was my teachers always repeated themselves. So as we allow ourselves to repeat and repeat and repeat, we learn more. And that's the great gift of having a coach. And I've even seen it in parenting. So for those of you who are parents, I'm guessing you've seen the same thing is, well, I told you that 3 times and they still don't do it. But who's the one that gets frustrated that the person is not receiving it is the parent. But I have a 12-year-old boy. If I'm able to repeat myself in the same tone each and every time, it does get done. As opposed to my erratic, spastic, or energetic, why didn't you? And that doesn't serve anyone. So for me as a coach, the joy of repeating is actually a skill set that anybody can learn. And when we do that in a way that serves what we want to create now, it's beautiful to see how it works. And I joke with each and every one of my clients to say, I repeat myself. I repeat myself. I repeat myself for a reason. I'm repeating myself, right?
No kidding.
And there's a joke, because I have a group coaching program as well, and we call it the Redundant Department of Redundancy.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's
oh my gosh, that's so great.
I think the key there is to repeat it in the same tone, because otherwise it turns into nagging, right? If the tone changes. So I think you got to practice that a lot.
Yes. And again, that's a practice in itself, Sue. That's right. Because we're well trained to be in judgment of something being good or bad or right or wrong, or it needs to be faster, or you need to get to this first, or the priorities. And does it really matter? It often doesn't.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And when we're learning skills, that repetition must come without judgment, and it's just new information. And that's where kind of going back to Kim's question of do I have to repeat myself or teach the same thing over and over again? Yes, absolutely. And I have to do it for myself as well, because we are so well trained everything we learned in childhood, often before 8 years old, and we just repeat over and over again. And to train ourselves anew, it takes a softer place within ourselves where we're not in judgment if we're doing it right or wrong or good or bad, or is it successful or are we failing? And in the work that I teach, it's called the feedback loop. And so you make choices and then align with an action, and then what action are you taking, and then decide what you learned, and just choose something again and then take another action without judgment. But are you getting closer to what you desire in your life? And that's attached, I think, to joy and what you love, but it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It's an ability to have self-assessment and self-awareness, which that's actually the precursor to everything I teach. Is I kind of jump past it when I'm teaching, because I just ask everybody, you got to be aware of what you're thinking. You must be aware of what you're saying. You must be aware of the actions you're taking and what those actions are giving you. So cultivating a high level of awareness is the precursor to everything that I teach and practice for myself.
So having a guide of a coach like you to get that mantra really honed in must be part of the process to create these neural pathways.
Totally. Yeah. Creating the new neural connections, a lot of my personal work for myself was rooted in Joe Dispenza's work, where he talks about becoming a new you and neuroplasticity and epigenetics and really creating those new neural connections, because our minds are always wiring and firing, but we're often wiring and firing the same old stuff, which keeps us rooted in not having what we want. And so how do you practice creating those new connections? And it is having a guide who just keeps you even keeled the whole way through. And I love doing it, because to me, it's easier to do it for someone else than it is for myself. But I choose to practice it for myself as well. That was the way I learned. But being able to see someone else, find out what they love, what lights them up, what fires them up inside, and guide them towards that, and remind them and say, this is what you're choosing. This is what you told me you wanted in life. Because as we go for it, we hit those bumps in the road and it thwarts us off the path. And then there's the reminder, well, what do I really want? And we must always be able to come back to that and use the words, as Kath said, like a mantra or a focus. And in my work, it's choices. So we always have a choice. And when we take that power back, it's not I want or I deserve or I'm worthy of, it's I choose. And understanding what we're choosing as often as possible. Like it could be, choosing to pick up this pen. It could be choosing to pick up a marker. It could be choosing to wear this blouse. But that's where the cultivation of awareness starts, is that we are always making choices. Choosing to be on this call with you today, choosing to wear your headphones, or choosing, to go on travel and take vacation, or it's acknowledging that we're always making choices and doing it in a way that serves what we actually want in our lives now, no matter what age we are. I have clients from 78 years old down to 18. It's pretty cool. But it's the same structure for all of them. Doesn't matter what age we are. It's actually that choice of, do we want to cultivate awareness and bring in this new repetition of what lights us up, and just hit the bumps along the way, with a guide reminding you and saying, hey, remember you said this is actually what you want in your life. Let's keep going for it.
Well, I was listening to one of your coffee talks, and it was so fun. I would recommend everybody tune into your coffee talks. So there was a part where you were saying, really become clear on what you want, what you're choosing, like you're saying. So can you talk a little bit about that for our listeners? Yeah,
I think for me, it started with reading the book, The Alchemist, interestingly enough, because in that story, it's sorry to be, for anybody who hasn't read it, I'm going to give you the ending. We leave and we go in search of something, but we always return back to ourselves. So the journey of Santiago and the Alchemist by the amazing Paulo Coelho, the seeker goes out seeking, we'll use the metaphor, the gold, outside of himself, outside of his home, outside of his land, outside of all the known. And he goes on this fantastic journey. And this is also Joseph Campbell's work of the
hero's journey.
Thank you. I was going to say the journey, but that's Brandon Bayes. The hero's journey is always going away from ourselves just to come back to yourself. And that never stops. And that's actually where we learn, but humans are obsessed with it. So, Santiago, he leaves his home in The Alchemist, journeys and comes back home. And when he lands back home, he realizes that's where it is. Same thing with Wizard of Oz. Dorothy is in a dream state. She leaves, but you always had the ability, and she shows up back home with her own a new expanded knowing of who she is and who she loves and what she wants at home. And we're always doing that. And it is humanity that is obsessed with a really good story. We don't want to hear a story that says, I went on vacation and I had a wonderful time with my partner and we ate great food and it was beautiful and the weather was perfect and I came back home to my perfect life and my happy dog. No, we want to hear about the Jeep transmission dropping out, the glasses and the bowl breaking in the cabinet. We want to hear about overcoming the headphones screwing up. Like, we want to hear about it because there's an energetic transformation that happens when we overcome anything, whether it's on a high note or a low note, but it's that journey that we are obsessed with. This is why we like good story. We like good movies. We like beautiful books that put someone in a place of tension or conflict and it resolves. And it doesn't matter how it resolves, but when we don't have that, I'm sure we've all experienced this where it's like, oh, life got a little boring. It's almost too easy. Like, when's the other shoe going to drop? Like we're waiting for that tension. We're waiting for the discomfort or the shift or the breaking or the fixing, or we're looking for that transition. And when we actually do it with intention, focus, and knowing it's coming. So 20 minutes, when my Jeep transmission got a little seized up today, I cried. But then I said, all right, now what? Now what am I choosing and what am I going to do? And it just all falls into place in my mind going, oh, I actually wanted a new car. And I knew this was coming. I had my transmission checked a few months ago. Like, okay, this is not a surprise. And then just, call all your energy back home, choose to be in your power. And then what do you choose to do? And it all works out. And we've all had those experiences where something felt so cataclysmic or dark or dismal. And we get into that pit of despair and we find our way. And we always, always, always can, especially when we have, you have a beautiful community that you've created here with Bombastik Broadcasting, that you three coming together all the time. I remember hearing about its inception, Kim, right at the beginning. And she's like, we're doing it. We're just doing it for ourselves, just for the fun of it. And because you do it from that joy, it grows and expands in what you're sharing and who you connect with and how much fun you all have together. And then the gift to bring people like me into it. And that's part of this evolution and journey that we are just naturally obsessed with this magic of transformation that we create emotionally, sometimes physically, or in our kitchen cabinets or in our car. It's life. And when you can navigate it in a way where you feel like you're in your power, it makes that journey a little bit more, I think it's deeply insightful for who we are and what we desire when you do it intentionally, when you understand that process. Yeah.
When you can line up your own struggle to have that triumph, right? So you're going to set up little situations for yourself and then you can have a better story.
It's part of the human experience, right? If we didn't want that, we wouldn't have chosen to be here right now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Tricia, tell us about the courses you've got on your website. They sound incredible.
Thank you. The Art of Alchemy is my signature program where I teach everything I know. And it evolves. The more I learn, the more I share. And the group coaching program, we meet twice a week. So it's structured in a way where we practice this intentional choosing, choice making. That's on one of the first session in the week. And then the second session on the week is to acknowledge where we're at, like where we're at right now, what is, where the challenges might be, and how we can use our choices to bring us through this journey. And so that's the second session of the week. And we meet twice a week, almost every month, unless I'm on vacation or traveling or something. And that the group coaching is so much fun. We have a private, a group where everybody gets to know each other really well. And I named it Sacred Space after seeing the creation of what we were all doing together. Cause it's not just about me. It's a format where everybody gets to talk and share and support each other. And we all get to know each other around the world. There's 10 different people from 10 different countries in the program. And we just have so much fun.
Wow.
And the evolution and the expansion of that. Yeah. It's over 50 people that are in the program, but the not everybody, of course, gets on the calls every time. So We have an intimate, connection with 10 to 20 people. And it's so wonderful to see the support and the ability to step into our own truth and share that vulnerability with each other, as I do myself, because I share my life with these people. It's just such a gift that they get to see. I'm not just up there on a podium, just teaching. I share and bear my soul with them and say, these are my challenges too. And this is how I'm applying what I'm teaching you. And then they get to see my journey alongside theirs. Lots of other programs and courses that are available. The one that I'm teaching right now is the Art of Intuition. And everything, of course, uses this word art in it because that's creative, it's beautiful, and it's something that is individual for our own perspective. And the Art of Intuition I've taught online. I'm also teaching it in person for the first time this summer here where I live in North Carolina. And that's understanding how to trust that inner voice we have, or how to trust that gut feeling that you have, and be able to practice trusting yourself, because we all have it, but we all doubt ourselves. So that's one of the courses that's available. I mentioned the Art of Meditation. That's a journey to really understand how to embody the power of your mind and your body and your focus, and apply it in a way where you can manage your thoughts, your words, your emotions, and of course your actions to align with what you want to create in your life. Let's see what else is in there. Conscious Creation course is available. That's an audio course that was the first course I recorded, and it walks through everything that I learned when I went through a certification program based on superconscious recode, change processes that are rooted in neuro-linguistic programming, like a double bubble or magnetic alignment, where you're actually setting up a structure of focus and then using this phenomenal connection to the field, the infinite field of information that we're all a part of. And then with permission, being able to step into that invisible field and make changes. That's a collaboration with whomever I'm working with. Let's see what other courses are in there. There's a lot of them. There's some.
Don't you also have? I know. Look at you go. That's amazing. Don't you also have one with a couple of the other girls from the program that we were both in?
Oh yeah. So we did a 3-day event, and I did that with Tracy Reiferscheid and Darcy Bolden. We did a 3-day event, and that was each of us sharing our own flavor of magic to get, to really allow people to embody their light and step into their truth and power. And that's available. And then I'm launching another 3-session masterclass, which is rooted in choosing to rewire and recode your addictions to your patterns and create your new structure. That's coming up in July. And then other in-person events that are coming up in the fall. So if anybody wants to come to Durham, North Carolina, October 11th and 12th, I'm hosting an in-person event with we're calling ourselves the trifecta of magical women, because when we get together, it's like we just up level this magic, and that probably resonate with the three of you when you get together, and it's like, oh, this is so fun every time, right?
Right on.
Yeah. So there's a lot available and evolving, and it's because I'm choosing to evolve consistently and expand and step into what I love and what I want in my life, and practicing choosing it and experiencing it in as many ways as possible. And then in the meantime, I learn, and then I choose to share and allow other people to step into that for themselves too. The goal is to keep that vibration where we want it to be. And then whatever you want to call it, vibration, energetic level, your joy, your happiness. It's what we call structure. And how do we stay in that structure when we're not in these specific containers, like at an event or in a class or at a seminar? And that support and how we connect and create community is essential. And I noticed that from this journey out of our COVID years, where we all connected online as often as possible. And then we go back out in the world again, and it's like, oh, where is everybody? Because we all changed and expanded. And how do we consistently connect with the community in person and online that serves who we are now? And I love being a part of that and creating it, or stepping into other people's worlds, which I just did when I connected with this wonderful metaphysical store in North Carolina where I'm teaching now. And it's just so fun to meet more people she's like, this has been my dream for decades. And she's been open over a year, and it's been successful. And it's just wonderful to see that and celebrate it and become a part of it.
Did you say metaphysical store?
Yeah. So it's called New Earth Energies, is in Wake Forest, North Carolina. And they sell crystals and, of course, anything and everything you could use to tangibly hold on to something to, shift your energetic connection to yourself and your dreams. But they also have a beautiful classroom. So people are teaching angelic Reiki, yoga, meditation, sound healing. And this is where I'll be teaching the art of intuition, so we can learn how to listen to that inner voice and trust it.
Yay.
Fantastic.
Now, Kath, did you have a question about a potato?
So can you break it down for our audience today?
Yeah.
The straw and the potato, what is it all about?
So working with my mentor, William Whitecloud, he mentions it in his book, The Magician's Way. And when I first read that, it's a demonstration and a process that's in a novel, it's a book, but it's about teaching someone how to hold your focus. So if you pick up, a regular old raw potato, it's not cooked, and you pick up a straw, you wouldn't think that the straw could go through the potato. And often that's a belief. That's a limitation that we say, there's no way you can get that straw through the potato. And the way we change this, one of my friends was joking, it's like, is it like bending a spoon? Similar, but we're not playing with metal. We're playing with concepts that you can create your own reality. Walking across fire. People do this without getting burned or harmed. And so it's a demonstration of proof that we have the ability to change our focus and get what we want. And with the potato, it's specifically, the short of it is, often we're obsessed with process. How do I do it? What do I do? How much pressure? And we call that process. It's how do I get from here to where I want to be? So and this is what we're really well trained in before 8 years old in childhood, is look at where you are and figure out the steps to get where you want to go. The gift of this work, really, when you're in creative development and you're understanding how to create your reality intentionally, is to hold the vision on something that you desire being done. It's already done. And that is where you put your primary energy. And I always say, if you can shift that to more than 51% of the time, the predominant experience in your life is to hold the focus on that, especially with a straw and a potato is, we think, okay, how do I get it through? And if you're, imagine holding a straw and trying to get it through a potato, you're thinking about how. But if you stop and try this, then the next time you pick up a straw and a potato, Kath, is just imagine the straw coming out the other end. And that's it. That's the only thing you think about. And there's an energetic shift in the body that happens as it doesn't matter what action you take. It doesn't matter how you hold the straw. I know people who have done it with a paper straw through a sweet potato. I do it with bendy straws and paper straws and boba straws, and you can do it with anything. The key is, how do we train our mind to focus on it being done, no matter what action we're taking? And that's the key to actually creating your reality. And when it shifted for me, I stopped obsessing about the process. How, pressure, how do I hold my hand? How do I hold the potato? And this, no. The only thing to focus on is the straw coming out the other end. And that's it, no matter what action you take. And it just went right through. I'll never forget that moment, because I had tried multiple times. But during a course I took with my amazing mentor, William Whitecloud, he teaches this. And I actually asked him if I could teach my group. And he said, yeah, it's a well-known secret. Go ahead and share it. So it's not like it's, some hidden story of how to, but for anyone who has never seen it done, it's so like, what? Because we're really obsessed with process and step A, B, C, D, E, all the way to get the. And if you could just get to Z and just focus on it being done, it changes your whole life. And that goes for anything. It goes for relationships, finances, abundance, health, and vitality, because then it's irrelevant what action you take, as long as you're paying attention to what action you took and what did you get. The action itself doesn't matter. It's what you get after you take the action. So
this is some Jedi mind kung fu. I love it.
Yes,
it is, exactly.
I love the Jedi mind kung fu potato straw trick. But when it comes to applicable in life, can you break down the nuance? Can you see where a person like me might get stuck in the how, even unconsciously?
There's a few steps to shifting that perspective. of, we'll call it, and this is not right or wrong or good or bad or judgment for any of us, even myself, that it's not good or bad. It's a choice. And that it's a choice of where we put our focus, and understanding when we are obsessed with process, when we're obsessed with, I must understand the steps that I must take to get somewhere, is we will always be focused on the steps rather than the joy of it being done. So in essence, we call this a structure. It's like a relationship of two or more things at any given time. That relationship with it never being done, it will exist no matter what you're trying to create. So it becomes an obsession that no matter where I am, I must focus on being somewhere else. So in my work, we call that problem solving. And that's a structure that is pervasive in everybody's life, because we learn problem solving as a way to survive in childhood. The choice then becomes to step into a practice. And I created a short course called The Secret Sauce about this. I don't know if it's visible on my website. I don't think it is, but if you want more information about it, let me know. And it guides us to how do we create effective choices. So we focus on the emotion and the feeling and the juicy goodness of what we desire being done first. And I demonstrate this with my clients, that to say, okay, well, I could pick any of you and say, what do you actually want? What do you really, really want in life? What lights you up and what do you love? And then I get to the root of what that is, the truth. Not, I want a whole boatload of money in my account. Like, okay, well, what are you going to do? What do you have? What do you be when you have that boatload of money in your bank account? And it's abundance. That is the gist of it. We want to experience the feeling of abundance, not the money. It's actually the feeling, the emotion we will have. So one of my great gifts is I'm intensely emotional. I'm intensely energetic. And so I walk people through this process to connect into the emotion of what they desire, not the way to get there. And then I use that. This is where we're building the pieces to answer your question, Kath. We use that to demonstrate. Now, isn't that actually what you want? It's not the money. You don't want me to hand you $10,000 in cash. It's how you're going to feel when you have that. So I use that as a demonstration to say, can you just choose to practice the feeling and the emotion of having what you desire, which in short terms is called the emotion of the end result. And then when, through steps and repetition, when we can practice that over and over and over and over and over again, the feeling of what we actually desire, we go, it's not the stuff. It's the feeling. It's the emotion. And then as we practice that emotion, having it, we don't feel the separation from it because we are actually so much more in control of our emotions than we allow ourselves to believe. We create all of our emotions, but what we're most often doing is reacting. So those emotions are playing out from the past. I teach people how to create their emotions intentionally. And then through the law of repetition, mindful minutes, art of meditation, you practice that every day and you realize, I am actually in control of my emotions here. This is amazing. I want more of that. And then, only then do we apply action to say the action's not only going to be easier, but sometimes the magic just shows up for you and it's just given to you. And you go, I created that just by using my power of focus and energy and emotions. And yes, and I know Kim's done this a bunch, but it's so beautiful. But as you see this long explanation, it takes time. It takes choice, intention, and focus and repetition to see how all of these pieces work together. Everybody just wants a quick fix. That's why it's like money in the bank. Nothing changes though. You want the relationship and then you end up losing the relationship again. I want the new job and then the new job sucks. Same. Because you're not shifting how you're accessing your present moment. And the end result of that for me was really, I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle almost 20 years ago. And now I revisit it and I get what he's talking about. Because there is nothing that needs to change when you actually are able to create your emotional state right now. Because you can create any emotional state you want. And isn't that what you want anyways? So when you practice that, it's like, oh, that's really what I want. And then you don't need to resolve or change or fix where you are. It just is beautiful the way it is. And then it's a choice of what else do you want to create? You're not trying to resolve the pain within inside of you, because you could just shift that with your focus and your intention. by creating your own emotional state. And we've all done that when we receive the great phone call, emotional state has changed. And in this work that I guide people to do, we don't do it in reaction anymore to our environment. We create it intentionally just because we can and we love it. And so that's a very long answer because it is a journey and it takes this repetition and focus to see it play out individually for all of our own perspectives and what we're choosing.
I have to say thank you for that. That was a great answer. Is it selfish to want more emotions and more things?
Well, that's
one
thing that I have found. A lot of people who they love being of service to others. And this is a huge thing with people who are educators, nurses, loving mothers, devoted family, where we love giving. And we know that's part of our true nature of how we give. And then it feels selfish to receive or ask for self. And that's actually a learned structure, pattern, experience, wound, whatever you want to call it in childhood. No. Or we witness others being self-sacrificing and giving to others. And then they're exalted and honored and celebrated. And then we always lose self. So it must come back to self first and to be of service to self first in a way of knowing what I love is what lights me up. And that fire inside of me is the joy that allows me to bring more to others and my experience to others. And there's a lot of, I've had a few clients in the last, probably 6 months, really struggling with understanding how they can receive for themselves because they feel it is at a sacrifice for if I stop giving to others and I receive, and I always remind people this is part of the process. We must and it's not so much a collapse, but this is a great word for it. It's a collapse into giving to self because we always expand with having more to give. So the word selfish, it means a lot of different things, but allowing ourselves to receive and experience and embrace what we desire is one of the greatest gifts that I demonstrate with getting people to experience the emotions they desire to have. And I say, now that doesn't feel selfish, does it? It's an emotion. And side note, emotions are just a chemical cocktail in the body. And when you practice creating them, it's so powerful that we can practice creating dopamine or endorphins or whatever it may be. And when we're using our own bodies to create an experience, that's not selfish. And especially for anybody who wants this abundance or the magic amount of money in your bank account, every single person I talk to would share it. They're not just going to keep it for themselves. Anybody who really wants a massive amount of money, one of their intentions is actually to be of service to others. So if you hear that story in itself, it's like, I receive so I can give more.
And then just also thinking with the end result emotion, I think that part of it too is if we don't set ourselves up with that end result, we'll end up with the same situation. So let's say our car's a junker. So we're driving around in this junker car all the time. And every time we get in the car, we're like, this car's such a junker, blah, blah, blah. Now somebody gives us a new car. If we haven't reframed our mindset around the car, that we deserve to be in a nice car, we'll end up having a crash or trashing it in some way, shape, or form. A bear will break into it. Something like that. Maybe possibly.
Yeah. And what in this work specifically, when we're really understanding our structural relationship, whether it's to beliefs or emotions, expectations, doubt in self, is we end up recreating the same pattern unintentionally. And I've seen this play out not only in my life, but in my clients. And the short of that is structure has integrity. And those structures we've created for decades, the relationship we have with beliefs, emotions, thoughts, feelings, story, abundance, health, and vitality, it holds a lot of energetic weight in the past. So the practice of making choices and creating emotions is actually where we put the power as a practice each and every day. So we're creating the new structure of where we choose to be, as opposed to just living by those default patterns of the past. But that's where the intention and the practice comes in. And then when those things happen, like I got a new car and then the bear breaks into it and destroys it, its structure has integrity And this is also, if you've ever heard of people who win the lottery or people who are drafted into phenomenal sports, they become multimillionaires and they end up bankrupt because they hadn't changed their relationship or their structure to abundance. And that's this kicker that I've seen so many different personal development journeys that don't add this piece in of intentionally creating what you want to put in your focus on that as the predominant and primary experience, because you must establish the new structure and new relationship. Otherwise, the old stuff's just going to keep on repeating. I mean, we all know people who say, why does it keep happening to me?
Put that down. Yeah, I mean, when you talk about structure, it just makes perfect sense that way. So you know how some people are like stuck in a pain zone or weight loss or whatever that like physical thing is? Does that structure apply?
100%. And the body is one of that I've, as an observer of other people's experience trying to create this shift, the body is such a tangible, 100% attached to our experience thing. I truly believe that we are way more than these physical bodies. I know I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, that essence of my energetic, especially because my electromagnetic field is measurable outside my body. But we are obsessed with what is, and pain is a captivating experience. Physical form,
Ooh,
the mirror,
yeah.
definitions of fat or thin or pretty or ugly or tall or short or all that color, hair color. Doesn't matter. We really have a trained pattern and obsession with definitions of the physical form and the definition that pain is bad. But let's just use the quick example of going to the gym and you experience your muscles as sore and in pain after working out. Why is that not bad pain? Why is that good pain? Because you intentionally created it and you know exactly what that pain is giving you. So often people don't understand what the pain is giving them. Pain is information. And it's often information of maybe what we're neglecting. It's just information. And then what action do I choose to take? But the physical form is captivating. And it holds our attention because we're in it. The practice then becomes creating the meditative separation to experience yourself as more than the physical body. And when you can do that, you can do anything.
Perfect. Well, Tricia, I know I speak for all of us when I say we would love to just talk to you all day. Here at Bombastik Broadcasting, we like to say a rising tide lifts all boats. We talked about all your courses and all your lovely things that you have available online. Tell us a little bit more about your coffee talk. It's on Facebook, right? And
yep.
When is that?
A lot of different ways to access, access information and connect with me. My website is my name, triciabecker.com. You can email me there or, download any of the freebies. I have a YouTube channel, which has a lot of the free sessions that I offer, including some of the coffee talks. A lot of people aren't on Facebook, which is understandable. The YouTube channel is Journey into Alchemy, or just search my name, Tricia Becker, on YouTube. Redundant for a reason, the law of repetition. And on Facebook, if you want to be a part of the group, that's free, but it's where I share lots of the events, the different ways that we communicate, where I host the coffee talks, which is just live on a Facebook feed. The group is called Journey into Alchemy with Tricia. So if you just send a request to join there, you'll be able to see the coffee talk live. And they're not consistent just because of schedules and travel and different things that I do on the weekends. But usually they're about a half hour long where I just share some insight. And I do try to share from my own life because my experience is my greatest tool to teach. But then what people choose to do with that is their own experience. But for me, creating these coffee talks was, how do we connect with people who just want to talk about this stuff? And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity with you all to talk about this stuff, because it's so much dang fun.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Tricia.
Thanks for having me.
We've had a great time with you.
Thank you.
Well, that's it from Bombastik Broadcasting. Be a dreamer, be focused on trusting your intuition, and be sure to establish a new mindset so you're ready to embrace your wins.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean said that the reason that the world fucked up is cause everybody lazy. Positivity is corny to them, but they still gon' complain about the bad going on, shit crazy. So I just had to drop a little project. I don't know what the object is, but this feels good. If you too hood for the good vibe, sorry I ain't got nothing for you, why should I?
You shouldn't. We out here doing the things that y'all wouldn't. Life could be a sweet ride, proof is in the pudding. These guys with the weak vibes, I'll show them where to put it. Down bad, I was looking for the answer. Mind all mad, taking over like a cancer. Canceled the sub plans, came from up above. Told me everything we're doing, showing love, and I gotta
wake up. So much more in this world that you can do. Wake up. Every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up. You keep shining. You keep grinding. Wake up. All is aligning. All you gotta do. Wake up.
I've been getting so high, head up in the clouds. I don't ever wanna come down, but I gotta
wake up.
Ain't enough time to be down. Bust a smile, cause it's yet another day that I'm allowed to
wake up.
Feeling blessed to be alive, man. Not long till we thriving. Take the time to remind yourself that it all starts inside yourself. Most.
Wake up feeling stuck every day, then you gotta realize that it's all in your mindset. Read about that meditation, you go get around to it, you just haven't had the time yet. Yeah, I bet. Best thing that you could invest in is you. Could have the results or could have the excuse. Only one life, so take care of what you choose. And I ain't preaching, I'm just telling you the truth. Wake up, so much more in this world that you can do. Wake up, every little thing in this life that you're going through don't mean a thing. Wake up, you keep shining, you keep grinding. Wake up, all is aligning.